and let's hear her. So I'm going to share my screen and okay, Aarti, are you sharing? Okay, great.
The mic to Karin and our next guest. Thank you.
Thank you. Such a joy having you here, Leymah
Aarti,
Gbaawa.
can you
A warm
pause just 1
hand.
second?
Welcome.
So I will request everybody to be actively listening. I will ask you questions and do make a mental note or of an actual note of some things that might stand out for you during while you're listening. This was one of the most powerful 25 minutes for me when I actually went there. And I think everything else in those 2 to 3 days were like complete waste of time if I compare it to this 25 minute of conversation. It was very powerful. Yeah, Ardi, go ahead.
So in 2011, you were awarded with the Nobel Peace Prize.
Sure.
And the prize motivation was for your non-violent struggle for the safety of women and for women's rights to full participation in peace-building work. And you had by that time great experiences of exactly that. You were a teenager when the civil war started in Liberia.
Mm-hmm.
For years to come, you survived in the chaos. And the civil war in Liberia, it contained all the components of brutality and violence, such as killing, torture, sexual violence, starvation, and the outspread use of child soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
And then you decide to do something. What was it you decided on? What was it that you wanted?
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here. Thank you all so much. So this is the abridged version, and you went down the road. So midway into the crisis, maybe 12 years into the crisis, a group of us heard about women's involvement in peace building, and we started a little movement. But this was prompted by me going to a meeting. So we started a little group. We were going from place to place, training women. And then by the 14th year, we had this, I had this dream, and like literally I thought it was a drunken dream. But it was like a voice that I always hear in my dream that I've never seen the face of that person telling me, gather the women to pray for peace. And I went back to my boss, who was a pastor, and I said, I had this dream. So since you're a pastor, I think you should call the women of the churches together, because I do not have any kind of spiritual legitimacy to do this kind of thing. I drink, I'm not married, so I was taking off all the boxes of things that makes me or made me unqualified to do that kind of work. And he said to me, Leymah, the dream bearer is always the dream carrier. If you give your dream to anyone else, the next time you see it, you won't recognize it. So it is on you to make this a reality. And the only thing I can do is to summon the women, and you can tell them. So we started something called the Christian Women Peace Initiative. Eventually, the Muslim women heard we're doing that, and they came to me and said, come and help us start something. So Fridays, we'll go to the mosques, and we'll mobilize the women. And then one day we decided, let's do something for peace. But as the war was progressing, it was just 7 of us, one day sitting down having a conversation, and we decided, let's do a statement. At that time, Charles Taylor, who was the president of Liberia, had said, He would not agree to any peace talks. There was no way that a foreign troop would come on the ground in Liberia, and he would not negotiate with the rebels because he was the legitimate president. So we wrote a statement countering all three of the things that he said. And then when it was time to sign, someone said, let's sign Women of Liberia. And my response was, this is disingenuous. How do 7 people sit here and claim to represent an entire nation of women? So if we really want to do this, let's sign our names. So we put our names, 7 of us, and sign. After we signed, then the question became, how are we going to put it in the media? Because we had no money. And someone said, I have an extra $10 in my bag. And then someone said, oh, but I know this. We have this friend, this female journalist. She has her own show. So we managed to call her. She came. We handed her the $10, handed her the statement, and it gained traction. And the reason it gained traction was because I think people wanted to see who these 7 fools were. You know, the ones who are about to be killed by a dictator. Because how do you name yourself in a time like this? So there were many people coming to do interviews, and then it emboldened other women. So the next meeting we had were about 65. The following meeting, 250. And the day we decided to step out to protest, were about 2,500 women stepping out to protest. So then it just started a whole thing of us going from one activity to the other, wanting to meet with Taylor, wanting to present our statement to him. And one of the days, there was an international crisis group on Liberia. So this statement became like our sacred text. We carried it everywhere, but we didn't even have money to laminate. So it was in the middle of the rains. So we put it here. Or 1 or 2 people will carry different of the statement in their clothes. So we got to, someone called and said there was a meeting of the crisis group on Liberia at the UNDP building. We walked half the way because the money we had for transportation could only bring us halfway. So the rest of the way we walk on the rain. And then we get to this site, and here are men with guns guiding the place because you have dignitaries from Sweden, from Liberia, from Norway. So the crisis group was comprised of people from the US, of people from the international world trying to bring peace to Liberia. So we're standing across the street, and then we're saying to ourselves, how do we get our statement to those people? And there were 2 very young, audacious women with us. And they were like, we should go across the street. And I was like, no, you can't risk your life. But in that moment, I think the Swedes are known for being nosy. Because the ambassador from Sweden started coming out, and he was pointing at us. And so other ambassadors started coming to see this group of women. And these 2 young women, before I could blink, they broke free from the group, ran across the street, and the soldiers were saying, back off, back off. And this guy then said, no, leave them, let them come. And they handed the statement to them and crossed the street. So then the crisis group had the statement, and we're taking this statement from one place to the other. But then we eventually got to meet Taylor. And the story with meeting him was that we had to write 7 letters of invitations. 7 letters asking to meet with him. 1 to him, 1 to his wife, 1 to his pastor, 1 to his brother, 1 to the member of parliament. So 7, when we eventually, everyone said they delivered to him. So this day we went to meet with him because our goal at the time was that this government and all of the warring factions needed to make a final attempt, because everyone in the international community was saying, this is the last straw for Liberia. You've gone to 14 peace talks and it all broke down. This is your last chance. So we wanted them to really make that last chance a reality. So we got to see him, and his soldiers told us, if you're less than 10, the president will not see you. And my point was, so what if we're we're more than 10? And he smirked and said, because at that time, everyone was so afraid to come out, they didn't think that women would come out. More than 10, 2,500 of us showed up that day. When we got to his presidential palace, they said, no. we will only see 10 of you. And I was like, no, he must come down to see us. So there was this argument back and forth, back and forth. I said, I'm going up there to tell. And this guy was like, why do you want to be killed? Why do you want to go to jail? Why can't you just accept? And I was like, no. So eventually they said, okay. He said he's coming downstairs. He came down. There were some women sitting. We were there. They offered us chairs. And as our act of disobedience and protest, we refused the chairs and we sat on the floor. And then it was time for me to present the statement. They had set the podium in a way that my back would be to him. I said, no, I can read a statement with my back to him. And he's sitting there with his dark glasses and just like you don't know who he's looking at in that moment. But I don't even know where the confidence and the courage came from. But I think just looking down at those women who comprise of refugees, internally displaced women who had been raped, those who had lost their children. And in that moment, it was not about me. In that moment, it was about those women and the future of a nation that needed to be rescued. So I got up, turned the podium around to face him. And I read the statement. And after reading the statement, I said to him, Mr. President, we're sick and tired of running away. We're sick and tired of, so I just went on. And then afterwards, he promised that he was going to go to peace talks. But if our movement was a true movement, we'll find the rebels and give them the same statement. Next morning, we had a group of women because we heard that the rebels had a base in Sierra Leone. So the next morning, we had a group of women on a flight to Sierra Leone to deliver a similar message. And then the rest is history.
Yeah, it's an amazing story, and I mean I'm still where you meet Charles Taylor, who's a very dangerous man who later was convicted to 50 years in prison for war crimes. You have also said that you kind of took him off guard because his world and his language was so brutalized and so filled with war and violence, and you came with the opposite message. What was his reaction?
I think he had no reaction. So the first day we came out to protest, everything about our group was ragtag. Like we weren't sophisticated, we didn't have any money. We had this guy who had an old bus who would bus us around when we had money to pay him. We had a journalist who was also a visual artist who would print on any kind of sheet of paper for us. So like literally, so the first day we came out, 2,500 women, we had a banner that said, Liberian women want peace now. And we converged on the airfield where he would pass every morning, because he wasn't living far from that place, to go to work. And the first morning, his convoy slowed down. And everyone thought he was going to stop. He didn't stop, he drove past us. Next day, his convoy passed, and we're still there. He passed. He never passed again because he did not go to work again. So I think in those moments, it was like, how do you confront a group of unarmed women? Because all he knows, like you rightly said, was to deal with people who had guns, so he didn't know what to do. But one of the essence of our sit-in was basically, if you go back to archival footages of the war in Liberia, everything you will see will be young boys with guns, men with drugs and guns and everything. There was not the other narrative, the narrative of the rape and abuse. Allegedly, 65% of Liberian women were sexually abused and assaulted during the Civil War. So you do the math. So when we stepped out, it was first to say to the international world, look, we are also party to the conflict. We are also people that are being abused and misused on a daily basis. But the second thing was, the war started with 2 warring groups. By the time we stepped out, there were over 14 warring groups, and everyone had taken a piece of Liberia. So our protest was occupation. we wanted to occupy a space, but that space, contrary to all of the other spaces that had been occupied by warring groups, that space was the space for peace. And how do you counter that? That was his challenge, because he didn't understand the language of peace. And I believe firmly that men with guns are afraid of women who work for peace.
Yeah, obviously. In 2003, there is a peace treaty, thanks to your extreme persistence in this, where the different warlords met Charles Taylor and settled. So the end of the war, but we then find a country that is demolished. You write in your wonderful book, Mighty Be Our Powers, you say this: a whole generation of young men had no idea who they were without a gun in their hand. Several generations of women were widowed, had been raped, seen their daughters and mothers raped, and their children kill and be killed. Neighbors had turned against neighbors, young people had lost hope, and old people everything they painstakingly earned. To a person, we were traumatized. We had survived the war, but now we had to remember how to live. How do you do that?
You know, one of the things that I've come to recognize is, in order to live together, walk together, you must understand each other's history. And so, in as much as we had a brutal past, we all had a shared narrative that a war came, and that there is not a single household in this country that did not lose an individual. No family can tell you, I didn't lose a family member. That's the first narrative. So it didn't matter who killed who, but we all shared that, because we were a small country when the war started. 3 million people. We were able to kill 10% of our population as a result of the war. So we had that. But gradually, we also recognized that after 14 years, it wasn't going to do us any good if we're antagonistic towards one another. Let me give you an example. When we sat on the airfield to protest, there was this woman who was very upset with another woman who didn't understand the story. And so eventually we said, okay, we need to talk, because we can't do peace in the midst of crisis. And she said to her, you know, you tell them, your nephew killed my son. And not only did they kill him, they chopped him up. And when it was time for us to bury him, he made us to buy his body back piece by piece. And I'm sitting here with you in building peace, and I'm angry. And then you have this old lady who tells me, when I ask her, you're old, you're cold, why do you always come? She said, do you have sons? And my response was, yes. She said, I had 2 sons. I said, I have 2 at that time. And she said, my first son died, my second son died. And when I heard that the women were gathering, I decided to come. I'm old, I'm uneducated. Technically, if there is peace, it's not going to benefit me. But I'm here to ensure that you don't lose your 2 sons. So all of those little stories of one group angry but still coming together to work for peace, one person saying, I have no, there is nothing that this peace is going to give me, but I must give it as my legacy to other people. So gradually we started finding means. And then because we're a very small country, everybody knew everyone. And so gradually we begin to learn to live. I'll tell you another heartbreaking story. So we go to a community after everything, we're going from one community to another, celebrating the peace. And this woman who was always very active, was very quiet. And I sit next to her, and they used to call me our ma, meaning the mother of all. So she said, our ma, what is peace? I said, we're trying to figure peace. And she said, but let me tell you a story. And you tell me if this is peace. My son was killed during the war. And my daughter left and said she couldn't stay. So she went as a refugee. I haven't heard from her for years. Eventually, I get a letter from her. She's married to a pastor. They have children. And she sent me pictures. The pastor is the killer of my son. My daughter is happily married. Obviously, her husband will never remember this incident because, of course, they were high. So what do? Do I keep silent because they're about to move back to Liberia? Do I keep it that my son-in-law, who shares beautiful grandchildren with my children, is the killer of my son? Or do I tell my daughter and break up their home? She said, I've made a choice to die with this because in my mind, this is what peace is. So we didn't have a framework. We didn't have a solution. We figured out how to live with one another. And every family had a story like that. Whether it was someone who treated you badly and refused to give you a place to stay in your darkest moment, every family, but gradually. And have we found reconciliation? I would say no. Not at least in a way that the world recognizes it. But collectively as a people, we're beginning to heal. We're asking ourselves, do we want to hold on to grudge and destroy the 22 years we've not reverted to conflict? 22 years we've made history on the continent of Africa. No one has gone to war. We've had the most contentious elections. We've had all kinds of problems. But it is that understanding that we must live together and we cannot afford to destroy what we all fought for. Yeah.
And in that, yes. And in that time of healing, I know that you have put a lot of effort into education. Would you like to say something about that in the picture of healing and rebuilding a society?
Yeah, so after winning a Nobel Peace Prize, we're in Oslo, in the hotel room. All of my family members are there, a few of my friends, and they were like, okay, you've won the prize, what's next? And my response was, duh, I can retire. And they said, no, you don't get a pass, you're 39. You win the prize at 39, you can't retire. So what is the next chapter? And I recognized that through all of the work that we had done, we didn't have young people. But then also, as I went around the country, the need for education was key. So I decided, let's start something to send young people to school, focus on leadership and educational development. And we started, and I told myself my ambitious goal was that in 10 years, if I had sent 100 young people to school, I had done my job, I could retire. 13 years later, I'm sitting here and I'm having the best time of my life, meeting young people who came from nowhere, but who had dreams like my father, like myself. The only missing object was the resources they needed to go back to school. So when we started, we're reading all of the statistics that you all read. If you send a girl to school, you've educated a nation, da, 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 da. 3 years into the process, we recognized that was a black lie. Paying school fees doesn't mean you've educated a person, and you all know it better than I do. So we eventually had to sit down and do a re-strategizing that in order for us to invest in a girl, we had to take in the religious consideration, the social aspect, everything. And for those young, we did not even think about bodyguards even. But at the end of the day, 13 years later, when the need arises, we do whatever we need to do because we're working with the whole person. You can't work with the brain and not work with every other part. So we're working with the whole person, and that's what we do. So we call our scholarship 360 degrees, meaning we buy shoes, we buy books, we give food. Those in university that doesn't have a place to stay, we rent an apartment for them. Is it costly? Yes. But is it worth it? Yes. And then Ebola struck. First, we started our program with only girls, and then we started getting children-headed household. 4 sisters, 2 brothers, 5 brothers, 3 sisters. And then we had to sit back and say, do we educate only the girls and leave out the boys? The answer was a resounding no. So we've added boys into our program. I'll give quickly because I know we're running out of time. When I look back at the moments that I've done this work, we went to this community to start an after-school program. And we're looking for students who were extremely brilliant to run the after-school program, and they brought this girl. She's not your ideal tutor. Her uniform was raped. Everything was torn on her. She looked really ragged. Her parents had died. She was a child of the community. In that community, she would go and help fishermen to pull water to bring their net on shore. Long story short, we took her out of that community at 10th grade, brought her to a boarding school. She graduated. We sent her to university. She did her degree in engineering. Today, if anyone goes to Liberia, you will see there's a road construction from the airport to the city. She's one of the engineering supervisors on that road. That, for me, is the journey that I find myself. Amazing journey. I could never, but one thing we push, even though we push for academic excellence, but we push for character development, integrity, ethical and moral behavior, because we understand that the world as we know it, you can be as bright as anything and do some of the best invention, but if you don't have character, if you don't understand that you have responsibility to the other and to the environment, everything all of us are working for is useless. And that is the new journey that I'm on. And I'm enjoying it. It's keeping me young.
Well, I'll quote you again on that note. You said, peace building to me isn't ending a fight by standing between 2 opposing forces. It's healing those victimized by war, making them strong again, and bringing them back to the people they once were. Thank you so much. Such a joy and privilege having you here, Leigh Magbawe. A warm hand.
Thank you.
Aarti, can we just go take this off for a minute? Yeah, let's just take this off. Okay. Yeah, I would love to see, how do you feel after listening to this? What are your first thoughts that come to you? Let's see, what are we thinking in the chat? Okay, peace, nothing is impossible, peace, persistent, motivated, role of a teacher, courage comes from conviction. Okay, interesting, consistency, teamwork. Am I raising responsible students, changing the world, protest for purpose? Okay, this is rushing, I can't read now. Okay, we have to stand where there is a gap in the importance of education, character, change makers, academic excellence plus character building plus cultural values equals to DPS. Okay, never give up, passion, character building is the most important. Okay, role of unity, girl education, stay calm, growth, Growthfully approach. Okay. Commitment. Interesting. Okay, brilliant. Taking responsibility, respect for each other. Sometimes the same weak, shy person suddenly becomes powerful by realizing their inner strength. Okay. Courage to live. Your dreams are not yours if someone else fulfills them. I like the tagline, the dream darer. Okay. Making the people stand to what they dream for in their life. What can we as teachers do to change the world for better? Academic excellence is possible only with character. Brilliant. Let's live together and walk together. We are blessed, but we don't realize. Absolutely. Dreams come true if we are persistent. Elevate the teaching professionals by building character. Okay. World maker. Start small but persevere. How to live with one another. Okay. Interesting. So, very interesting comments. Thank you, everybody, for watching this carefully. And, I was absolutely, I felt so like when I'd seen this, I think I felt that my trip was successful when I actually experienced this firsthand. And for me, the biggest takeaway from her entire speech was when she said, "What is peace?" Because the two people sitting in the crowd protesting together, one's son is actually killed by another's nephew. And how can we sit together? At the time when I heard this, probably this just did not sink in, but this stayed with me. And the other story that she shared about the daughter, the woman's son and daughter and her
Son-in-law.
husband, yeah, son-in-law. You know, and it really reminded me of again the same. It took me back to the same story I regularly share. And which my coach has taught me. Good thing, bad thing, who knows? We don't know what the universe has in store, and we regularly label things to good and bad, and later those labels come back and hurt us. Whether they are good or whether they are bad, whatever we label them, they will come back and hurt us. Yeah, and this story has so much things to take. This was my learnings, and this was my reflection from her talks. I'm going to bring about 3 questions that you can, ponder over. And if I think Aarti is also going to share a Padlet link, we will try and populate the Padlet, and we will try and also share the populated Padlet with Lema herself. So please do it diligently, and we will try and share this with her. We will also, once you populate this Padlet, we will also send her a request to come and speak to us live. And if she agrees for that, that will be wonderful. So please populate the Padlet diligently. And in the end, we'll take some discussions. I'm giving you about 7 minutes to populate this. We are at 5:40. You have time till 5:46, not 7, 6 minutes, 2 minutes for each question.
Please do not miss out to write your name. There are 3 questions visible on the Padlet. I'll just show you that also. So while you respond to these questions, please do not miss out to write your name and your school name. Don't keep the answers anonymous. So I see here there is one message written as there is one response, but again it says anonymous. Please edit it. You will get an option to edit your response. Please edit and write your name at the end.
Three minutes remaining. Could you pull up the questions? So glad to see so many cameras on. Neha ma'am, thank you. Archana ma'am, Pankaj ji, Ekta ma'am, Smriti ma'am, Sharayu, Nazima ma'am, Jaya ma'am, thank you. There are, okay, 2 Sharayus. Thank you, Neelu ma'am. Thank you, Yogita ma'am, Nisha ma'am, Kirti ma'am. Richa ma'am, Pranita ma'am. Last 1 minute. All right. So anybody, we'll take one response for each of the questions. Please raise your hand, or if you would like to speak, who would like to answer the first question? What What's the first question? How can you use, so what do you think is the most empowering thing with Lema's story? How can you use that in the teaching with your students? Yes, Bharti ma'am.
I have responded there is courage in adversity, because I think, in spite of what all she shared, only courage stands out for her. So for me, it's courage in adversity.
Okay. Yes, Ankita ma'am, how can you teach that with your students?
Namaste, sir. Like we can tell our student that how young or small they feel, their voice matters. If they come up with anything, it can inspire them to work together.
Okay. And how will you do that telling, and how will you make it impactful?
Like if they can openly share their opinion, if they feel like, or if they feel like something wrong is happening, they can openly share their opinion, and they can start working together. They can initiate and start working together for it.
Okay, brilliant. Yes, Kirti ma'am. Yes, Kirti ma'am, go ahead. You want to say something? Yes, Neelu ma'am, go ahead.
यस सर, हम लोग एक सामाजिक योजना बना सकते हैं। जैसे बहुत ज़रूरी है कि हमारा विद्यालय जो है प्लास्टिक मुक्त हो, और उस पर उनसे वर्क करवा सकते हैं। या फिर सड़क की जागरूकता पर, जैसे अभी हमारे स्कूल में एक वर्कशॉप हुई थी, तो उसमें जब उन्होंने पूरा डेटा दिया तो बड़ा रोंगटे खड़े हो रहे थे। तो इस तरीके का उनसे अभियान भी चलवा सकते हैं, कुछ इस तरीके का करके उनको निबंध दें या संवाद या टॉक ऐसे करके।
Very interesting. Alka ma'am says through stories. Pooja ma'am says students' voice and choice through role play. Gina says identify problems they face. Absolutely. I think this is one of the best ways to empower children, and that to teach them how they can do this, right? So we have something called as the possibility framework, moving from impossible to saying I am possible. And children can go through that framework and solve their personal problems. I will share a small story with you. In one of our schools, when I went to a classroom and I spoke to children, what problems do you have? One child in grade 3, he came up to me and he said in front of the whole class, "Sir, my biggest problem is that there are too many children in the school." And when I asked him, "Why do you say so?" He said, "Sir, I don't get to play enough in my sports period because there are too many children in the school, and there is not enough playground." And the school had a lot of playground space. Yeah. So then we went through the possibility framework, and the child and the group of children who were facing this problem, they actually solved this problem. And the school that I'm talking about, they have a timetable on the wall where this timetable is displayed, that which class from Jigyasa will go to which playground on which day. And it was a very difficult problem to solve, because in every timetable there are two variables, days and time. But here there were three variables, day, time, and the different playgrounds. And I remember me and Gunjan, both of us were putting our heads that how will we make this timetable? We could not figure this out, but the children figured it out. So if we actually go through this process, if we get the children to identify local problems that they face, they will solve them. And that will empower them on this journey that we hear from Lema. Okay, let's go to the... Yes, Neeru ma'am.
जी थैंक यू सर, सॉरी फॉर द कैमरा, आई एम नॉट वेल सर। ऐसा ही एक जो बहुत प्यारा सा किस्सा है वो मैं शेयर करना चाह रही थी। परसों हमारी बस में स्वाति शर्मा मैम कभी कभी आते हैं, उनका वेट बैक होता है जब, तो एक बहुत छोटे से बच्चे ने कहा बैठने के लिए प्लेस नहीं थी, तो स्वाति मैम ने बहुत सुंदर स्टोरी के माध्यम से उन सभी छोटे बच्चों को ये बताया कि कैसे हम इस प्रॉब्लम को फिगर आउट कर सकते हैं। उन्होंने उस बच्चे को गोद में बिठाया, सारे छोटे छोटे बच्चों को कहानी सुनाई, कहानी के माध्यम से समझाया कि ये विद्यालय हमारा है, ये पर्यावरण हमारा है, ये बस हमारी है, तो कैसे हम सबको मिलकर योगदान देना चाहिए। इवन आप बिलीव नहीं करेंगे, हम भी इनग्रॉस हो गए थे, टीचर भी उनकी कहानी में। तो दैट वाज अ वंडरफुल मोमेंट फॉर मी एज वेल। जैसे एक टीचर कभी रिटायर नहीं हो सकता, तो टीचर इज ऑलवेज अ टीचर, इवन इन द क्लास, इवन इन द बस। So that was a wonderful moment even for me. So really, it was really very nice. Ji, thank you, sir.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you, Neeru ma'am, for sharing. Kirti ma'am, can I come to you for the next question? How can you help students develop conflict resolution skills? What do you learn from Lema's video that you can use to help children develop conflict resolution skills? Yes.
Yes, sir. Through that, I would like to share कि in a conflict way, we should understand what exactly the situations, and in a both understanding after the situations, we have to understand कि which child is able to in a situation able to understand कि yes, I can do the sacrifice in that, and in that way we have to understand कि another child not able to understand in that situation, so make it happen कि जो समझ रहा है बच्चा, तो let him make understand and settle down the things, and accordingly when the situation calm down, after that when the mistake is realized by the another child, then we can make the conflict and release that stress.
Okay. Prajakta, I'm going to pass to Smriti ma'am, if you allow. Yes. Yes, Smriti ma'am.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir. So, sir, first of all, I will try to make I will try to create a safe space for both of them, and then I will listen to them carefully. What is the problem? What is the exact problem? And then I will separate them and listen to each side carefully. Then I will give them a solution for that.
Okay. So this is a great way, Smriti ma'am. The question that was in here is, how can you help students develop conflict resolution skills, and not how will you solve student conflicts, right? How can you help students develop conflict resolution skills? Deepti ma'am.
Yes, good evening, sir. अच्छा, दीप्ति शर्मा, दीप्ति कृष्ण. Again confusion, Deepti ma'am. Yes.
Okay, Deepti Sharma ma'am. Deepti Sharma ma'am.
Yes, sir.
तो कैमरा ऑन करता है उसको पहले प्रेफरेंस मिलता है.
थैंक यू सर. सर, मैं उनमें एम्पैथी जो हमारी भाव है ना, वो डेवलप करूंगी बच्चों में. उनमें एक्टिव लिसनिंग का भाव एक डेवलप होना चाहिए, और क्लियर कम्युनिकेशन होना चाहिए कि बच्चा अगर एक्टिव लिसन नहीं है, उसने सुना ही नहीं ध्यान से कि अगले ने क्या बोला है, तो वो कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स तो हो सकता है. तो उन्हें रिजॉल्व करने के लिए उनमें एक्टिव लिसनिंग भी होना चाहिए, उन्हें अपॉर्चुनिटीज उनके साइड को रखने के लिए भी देना चाहिए, और साथ ही उनका कम्युनिकेशन भी क्लियर होना चाहिए. इस पर फोकस करने के लिए कहूँगी.
ओके, वेरी नाइस. एक बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग चीज लेमा ने अपने पूरे उसमें बोली. उसने बोला कि अगर हमें किसी दूसरे को जानना है, इफ वी वांट टू रियली नो द अदर पर्सन, we need to know their histories. This is very important for conflict resolution. What is the baggage? What is the baggage that the other person is coming from? This is one of the most important things to do in conflict resolution. I don't know if you have heard the talk that I gave on the tomato story. The tomato story is all about the baggages that we carry, and those baggages determine our actions that we make today.
So could
if
you
we
briefly repeat the tomato story so that we can relate to what you're saying?
It's a long story, so maybe some other time. It will take about 30 minutes. So some other time, but largely what we truly are acting today is because of some baggages of the past. So once we understand the other person's baggage and our baggage, and that is where children can start with conflict resolution. So let's go to the last one. How can you resolve your day-to-day conflicts? Small, big, looking at Lema's story. Who would, Nazima ma'am, would you like to share?
Jai Hind everyone, Jai Hind sir. Sir, we can convince them to analyze the reason for the conflict, because every time we see there are two people in a class or the same students who are always getting into conflict with each other or the other people. So it becomes their, maybe it becomes a habit or that something is there with them. They get irritated or some other problem is there. So again and again the things are happening. So we should make them realize why the reason is there for these conflicts, and they should think about making them realize and asking about the thing is not enough. So they should think about, they should also be made to understand what will be the consequences or impact it will make on the life of both, or the maybe the personalities, how their nature or their behavior is going to be affected because of that. So they should be made to realize or understand that these conflicts, how they will affect them on the whole.
Thank you. Thank you. Can someone help me answer the third question, and then we will quickly move forward? Yes, Jaya ma'am, would you like to take that up?
So I wanted to add that the basis of resolution in such serious situations is the ability to forgive. And in our school, we have dedicated Friday to the value of forgiveness.
Brilliant.
The Samurjas also, leading to the inculcation of the value of forgiveness, are also planned around it for Samurja. I think it's a great medium to make our children put themselves in different situations, empathize with people, and also reflect on the discussions and activities. And ultimately, gradually, from this young age, if we are able to make them reflect on their actions and what impact it has, and how everybody can make mistake, anybody can make mistake, what matters is the ability to forgive and put things in the past and move forward with a positive approach, then this can definitely raise generations which would give priority to peace over winning and competition and ego.
Absolutely, absolutely. I absolutely love that. The how are we getting children to forgive? And the Forgiveness Fridays is a brilliant, brilliant way of doing that. And more than forgiving others, I think it's also very, very important to first forgive ourselves for the multiple blames that we carry, and the second arrows we shoot on ourselves every time, right? Because the first arrow is not so powerful, is not so hurtful, but the second arrow that hits in the same place is more hurting than the first arrow that hit there, right? And the third arrow, if the third arrow again goes and hits in the same place, that is more hurtful. And the fourth arrow, and the fifth, and the sixth, and the seventh, unless you forgive yourself, you're continuously hitting those arrows at the same spot, and that is where all the diseases get born.
Yes, sir. So I had read somewhere that guilt and shame are two most useless emotions. So when we don't forgive ourselves, there is always a guilt.
Yes.
And some shame. So it's better to forgive, accept and forgive yourself and move forward.
Thank you. Thank you. I am really sorry to all of you who've raised hands. We don't have the time to, and yes, I was the only lucky person in the room who could get a picture with her and get her email ID. So all your Padlet responses are going to go on her email, and let's see if she responds to us. So the Krishna, the universe orchestrated this. All right. So I'm going to show you something very, very quickly. Okay. Aarti, can you stop sharing? No, we can do this later. Yeah. So today's endeavor is also one of the hidden agendas, is also to plant a seed that someday, from one of our schools, one of our alumni can be recognized as a Nobel laureate. Okay. And I wanted to plant that seed today. And what can we do for that? I'm going to quickly show you what can we do for that. What can you as educators do for that? What can we plan in our classrooms so that that is a possibility. Okay. So this is the Nobel Prize Museum's website. And in the website, there is an area which is called educational lessons. Okay, so in this, can you see this? Give me a yes, somebody.
No, sir.
Sir, screen is not visible.
No, sir. No, sir. Screen
Okay,
is not
just
visible.
1 minute. It should come up. Just hold on.
Shall I share?
Yeah, go ahead, Aarti. Okay, can't share your screen, something. Yeah, go ahead, Aarti. Can you share? You can share. So in that, just go to educational, Aarti.
Okay. Which section?
Yeah, go to yeah, this one. Yeah. So once you go down, okay, I think this is my screen. This is my
Okay.
screen, right?
I'll stop sharing then.
Yes. So once you go down here, you will see a lot of these games and resources here. Okay. You will see a lot of these games here, which you can play. A lot of these are based on research of Nobel laureates. And it is a lot of these are on science, on various other things like Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 2001, Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine. So very, very interesting games. This again is very interesting. All the Nobel Prizes that were given for the year 2024, there are short videos so that children can understand that. Children can understand the Nobel Prize in Chemistry that was given in 2024 on proteins and their structures. Children can understand the Nobel Prize that was given on physiology or medicine. Children can understand the Nobel Prize that was given on literature and so on. Yeah, fight against nuclear weapons. So this is a very, very, very interesting space in the nobelprize.org/educational. Aarti, can you put up the link in the chat so that people can save? And here you see, this is all the all Nobel Prizes 2024. You will get all details here. You can share with children. This is a very interesting space. Want to think like a laureate. This is again 6 animated videos, which can happen in some of your Samurjas if you want, or a free period, or however you would like to use it. You can also do this in your science classes sometimes when you want to do something interesting. This is, I showed you this. So Nobel Prize Museum gives out crash course every year. So 2020, ऊपर वाला जो मैंने आपको दिखाया था, that was crash course 2024. And this is Crash Course 2023. When the Nobel Prize will be announced for Crash Course 2025, it will again come here. Yeah. And so scientific thinking for all. Then there are, X-ray का जो Nobel Prize था 1901 में, उसके ऊपर lesson है. So very, very interesting things here that you can actually take to your classroom. We're also speaking to the design team and making sure that, in your campuses, we have a lot of, posters displayed around Nobel Prizes and what all Nobel Prizes were given, who are the Nobel laureates, and what did they win the Nobel Prize for, a little gist of that. So the idea is that we can create an environment in our school where we are discussing Nobel Prizes, where we are discussing Nobel laureates, so that children automatically feel motivated to study about it, think about it, and if the universe wills, then someday it will also, manifest. All right. So, Aarti, do you want to make those announcements quickly and then we can end?
So looking at the time, I feel, can we end with the song?
Okay,
I will just,
go ahead.
I'll just present my screen and take everybody to slides. Okay.
Thank you everyone for joining in large numbers and keeping your cameras on. I hope it was a good, fruitful last hour that we spent together. And I apologize for not coming in often on the CC Fridays. I will definitely make sure that I make myself more visible in the CC Fridays going forward. Yes, Aarti.
Okay, when I started actually listing, there were so many things, but I had only 5 minutes to compile this. So if I have missed out something really important, please forgive me. I would like to congratulate teachers who implemented homework norms. This was in DPS Nashik. Quickly showing only few glimpses. There are so many things that happened in the Chetna wing during the vocational week in DPS Nashik. Okay, can't miss this. Aryan meeting PM. He was invited to Rising Bharat Summit. And again, a big celebration and achievement for all of us that DPS Varanasi got shortlisted and the top 10 finalists under the category environmental action for in top world's best school prizes. And hopefully we will get the award. Okay,
I hope everyone has voted.
Yes, sir. The team has voted across the campuses. Okay, quickly taking few glimpses which make feel that learning is now getting implemented, artwork being done by students at DPS Lava. A beautiful work, and where we talk about sustainability. This is all plastic bottles used to create the name tag that we were thinking to make it and order it from outside, but the art team created it. So this was wonderful to see. This is a life skill lab implemented few months back. Sonali Yadav ma'am was talking about it, but the team together came up and they have implemented it this year. And every day they are doing amazing work by teaching life skills to students. An initiative by the librarian, all the librarians led by Aparna Khedkar ma'am. And it is amazing to see so many things happening in the libraries. And we have been able to invite the authors in school. We have so many good authors coming in. We have Rupa Pai also coming in the next coming months. And reading competitions happening, exams happening on reading, a lot of books being read by children. This is so good to see. So congratulations to...
So glad to see a lot of educators. We could see a lot of teachers from Hinzewadi, Jaya ma'am, leading from the...
And Lava also, sir.
And Lava
they
also.
Yeah.
Yeah, so glad to see that.
And this is the first investiture ceremony that happened in DPS Hinzawadi, and it was amazingly executed. And you could see the pictures. I was not able to add the video. The video was also very good. Okay, I'll invite, it will just take 1 minute, but I would like to invite Siddharth to talk about it.
No, I think Jaya ma'am, would you like to share this?
Sure, sir. So on behalf of Siddharth, sir, I would say this because the credit for bringing this idea to our students and motivating them came from sir. So sir introduced us to this concept of possibilities framework as well as the situation of a monument in Pune, which was dedicated to girl education and specifically for one girl called Bahuli, who was poisoned by her own uncle in those times when women education was not encouraged. Deeply saddened by this, the father of Bahuli had constructed a well called Bahulicha Haud. But over time, it was neglected and turned into a parking lot. Hardly anybody, including the police department, knew about its history or its significance. With regular visits from our students as a part of their possibilities framework implementation, their talks with the police, their talks with the local people, and the push that we created, ultimately the right powers came into action, and now we see the well restored back to its glory. In this whole process, the children understood what is success mindset, identify problems, but at the same time understand that you can make a difference. There is a social responsibility each one of us carries, and put together your thoughts through think and link, through idea storm, plan your action, implement your action, review your action. Once you achieve the results, celebrate your success. And when you celebrate, you also celebrate failures, which have taught you a lot. And then this is how you move on from one to the other project, one to the other problem solving approach. So thank you, Siddharth sir, for guiding us on this amazing project. It was highly satisfying for our students.
Thank you to all the all the teachers who were involved so deeply. It is the execution that matters and not the idea. Ideas anybody can give, but the execution is what matters. So thank you to all the teachers at DPS Hinjewadi who led this initiative, and took this to fruition. Thank you.
Would also like to inform that Bahuli's relative, Bahuli's sister's great-granddaughter got in touch with us after she read about it in the newspapers. And she was deeply touched and moved to see that the students were able to bring about this change, this revolution. She tried all her life to get this place recognized and restored, but it could not happen. So what a child can do is limitless.
Absolutely.
Okay, this is the last slide, and it was something that we wanted to see happening, and it happened so well. And all the participants enthusiastically participate in Geeta Flix. I could hear from the PD cell also that a lot of enthusiasm. They saw highest number of registrations for this this module, and is being led wonderfully by Kashi sir and Jaya ma'am. Thank you so much for that. And quickly,
some great work happening at all campuses. Let's keep up the consistency in this year, and let's make this a wonderful, wonderful year. And kudos to all of you for the amazing work that you're putting in every day. Thank you, and can't thank all of you enough for the effort that you put in daily. Thank you.
thank you so much, sir, for taking out time for this CC Friday and sharing your experience and giving us this experience of listening to her and share the thoughts. Thank you so much, sir.
फ्री बैठ के हमको मक्खी नहीं मारना, हर दाव जीतेंगे हम, आका हमको नहीं हारना। हम हुकुम के इक्के हैं जुबां के पक्के, हम हुकुम के इक्के जुबां के पक्के, खाके था पेड़े जो एड़े से टेढ़े बने हैं, तो हम क्या करें? जोर लगा के जान लड़ा के बोलना।
Focus, focus, focus.
Thank you so much. This is another story of a teacher. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining.
Yeah, thank you so much, Siddharth sir, for this session. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining in and contributing very well. Thank you so much. I have posted like a feedback form link in the chat box.